Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Family Law Talk, presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a family law firm in the St. Louis metro area, with offices in Missouri and Illinois. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. My name is Kirk Stange, and I am a managing partner of Stange Law Firm, which is a family law firm with offices in Missouri and Illinois. Well, welcome today to Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. We have an interesting topic. The topic is titled Drug Usage in Custody Cases, and we'll get to that here in just a second, but I'll state, as I always do, that the choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements, and that the information you obtain today in this episode is general in nature, and it may not apply to specific factual or legal circumstance. Therefore, if you need legal advice, you should definitely consult an attorney who's licensed and competent to practice law in your specific jurisdiction. All right, so back to the topic. Again, the topic is drug usage in custody cases, and this is based on an article on our webpage, familylawheadquarters.com, dated December 29, 2014. And the title is How Doing Drugs Can Sink Your Custody Cases. And so that's the topic here today. A really interesting topic, and if you look at the article itself on familylawheadquarters.com, we have a picture of a large ship sinking in the ocean, and that is kind of a good visual, I think, for what drug usage can do in terms of a custody case. And so that's the topic here today. So let's talk about it and let's go through it. Obviously, for some parties, going through a divorce or custody case can just be a hard thing in and of itself. It can be emotionally draining. It can create a huge toll and burden on the back of some folks. And so there's some folks out there who maybe didn't use drugs previously, certainly not in any kind of current sense. Maybe it was something they did a long time ago in their past, but it's not something they had been doing. It's not something they were in the habit of doing in any shape, matter, or form. And unfortunately, there's lots of instances out there where you'll see a party and they go through divorce or custody case, and it's just an overwhelming burden. They feel stressed out, maxed out. They feel as if they can't handle it. It's all too much. It's too encompassing. And so unfortunately, some parties decide to dabble in drugs or partake in some sort of drug use, whether it's casual or whether it becomes addictive, and they do it at the worst possible time, which is in the middle of a divorce or custody case, when really the microscope is on them, and a court system is looking at the parents of the custody case, trying to determine what's in the best interest of the kids, and obviously a big component of that is a court determining who can really provide for kids stable guidance, stable parenting, even-keeledness, even-temperedness, and really that's what courts are looking for. And so obviously drug usage, not particularly helpful. In other cases, it might be a situation where a party had used drugs in the past, and it might be something that they were doing leading up to the divorce proceedings or custody case itself. And so, some parties unfortunately use drugs, whether it's something that they do on a regular basis or whether it's something they do casually here or there. And so in a lot of these instances, it might be a situation, I hate to say it, but it could be a situation where maybe even both parents were doing drugs, and it could be that husband and wife both did drugs casually with each other. And, of course, prior to divorce proceedings or prior to custody case itself, it might have been a situation where, the one parent really didn't have a problem with the other parent casually using drugs here or there. It wasn't a big deal to them. It wasn't a big issue to them, and they didn't have a problem with it. And like I say, it might have been a situation where maybe the two of them did drugs kind of casually together here or there, and they didn't make a big deal about it. But then you get in the middle of a custody case, and all of a sudden the drug usage of the other parent becomes a giant issue. And I'm going to just state this as sort of a preface as well. I mean, I would hope everybody could agree that drug usage in front of children is not a good thing in any shape, matter, or form. I mean, really, you go through all kinds of psychological research, but this is harmful for kids. It's not a good thing for kids to see, to be exposed to. And so I just want to state it's kind of a general prefaced all of this, drug usage, not a good thing. Certainly we don't endorse drug usage, whether casual basis, whether persistent basis. I mean, drug usage as a whole is not a good thing, is not something folks should partake in. Obviously, it's illegal in most states still, and so doing something that is illegal is not a good thing, is a bad thing, and it has bad negative consequences for the kids, certainly when the drug usage is done in front of them and the kids are exposed to it and they see it. And so definitely not a good thing. But all of that said, the reality of it is that some folks still partake in either casual drug use or they take drugs maybe on some sort of regular basis, and that's just the reality of it. And in saying all of that, the reality is this is not helpful to custody case. And so lots of parties, they'll hire an attorney for the divorce or custody case, and the issue of drug usage will come up. And in fact, we give materials in our intake packets, and we talk about how drug usage not helpful in custody cases, not something parties should do, but some folks still do it. And at the end of the day, for parties out there, parties seeking regular visitation with their kids, for parties that are actually seeking custody, if this is you and you're going through a divorce or custody case, the drug usage is not going to help. It's not helpful. It's counterproductive. It can really sink a custody case faster than almost any other factor out there. So it's definitely something that those going through custody cases need to be aware of. And so we'll just give some examples. Certainly through my years of practice, I've seen cases where party ends up with supervised visitation for a period of time because they can't pass drug tests. And it might be a situation where, court doesn't give them unsupervised visitation until they pass so many drug tests consecutively. I've certainly seen cases where even at the conclusion of the case, one party or the other agrees to submit to some sort of regular drug testing after the conclusion of the case. And so, for folks that want custody, for folks that are looking for frequent, meaningful contact with their kids, if you do drugs, what might end up happening is you end up with supervised visitation. In other cases, it might be an instance where the court decides that they want that parent to undergo some sort of drug rehabilitation, some sort of counseling, and that their visits are supervised until that happens. Ultimately, some of these parents can end up with supervised visitation for the long term. So through the years, there's certainly been cases that I've seen and been a part of where a party at the conclusion of the case, their visitation is supervised, which means every time they see their kids, there might need to be a supervisor there present overlooking their visits. And at times this can happen. Certain courthouses, court systems might have a supervised visitation program. There's certainly some independent people, private practice people, if you will, that one of the things they do for a living is supervised visits. But think about that. Doing drugs, is it worth having a supervisor with you on all your visits? And of course, some of these supervisors can cost a significant amount of money, and so now you're having visits supervised by this paid supervisor, which is costing folks lots of money. And so that is definitely not a good thing, really, for that parent, because they're not having regular visitation with their kids. And obviously for the kids, in a lot of respects, it can be harmful to them because now they know that to see either their mom or their dad, there has to be a supervisor present. So not a good thing. And in some extreme cases where the drug usage is persistent, it's been going on for a long period of time, a parent has had plenty of warning, there are even instances where the kids end up in the custody of the state and the rights of the parents end up becoming terminated. So drug usage can actually result in some instances with a parent relationship with their kids being forever severed, forever terminated, and that's not a good thing. So for all of these different reasons, it's really critical that parents think long and hard before they even engage in really any kind of drug usage. Obviously, some folks have various degrees of dependency. Some folks might become and might have some sort of genetic propensity to become addicted easier than others. But at the end of the day, drugs can stay in folks' system for a long period of time. Courts can enlist certain types of drug tests, and these different drug tests can go further back in terms of determining whether somebody's used drugs or not. Obviously, urinalysis tests can take place. Those don't go back nearly as far. But in some instances, the court might order a hair follicle test, which can show drug usage for months past. Fingernail tests can be used in some instances as well to determine whether drug use has been used, and that can go pretty far way back. So, for the folks out there, I mean, it might be a situation where maybe you use drugs one or two times, and it's been a couple months ago, a few months ago, and that can still show up in your system. And at the end of the day, that failed drug test can really be fatal to the custody case, particularly if you're failing drug test and the other parent is passing. Because at the end of the day, courts are going to look at parties and think, look, with a microscope on you, with the court looking at your parenting skills to try to make a determination for what's in the best interest of the kids, to fail a drug test really shows, in a lot of respects, to a lot of judges that maybe this is a persistent drug use, because most folks, if they truly cared about their kids, would refrain from doing so in the middle of a custody case. Now, we can get into a big debate about different types of drugs and whether one drug or another drug is different than another, and whether a court, might weigh certain drugs in kind of a worse light than other drug usage. But at the end of the day, in most states, it's still illegal, and courts not fond of seeing parents failing drug tests. So, again, at the end of the day, if you're going to be going through a divorce or a custody case, and custody of your kids is important, it's just critical that you get the help that you need, or that you just stop the drug use altogether, and realize that at the end of the day, you've got to choose the drugs, you've got to choose the kids, and for the good parents out there, hopefully they're choosing the kids and not the drugs, because it's truly one of those situations where if you're doing drugs in the middle of the custody case, it can have a fatal effect on a custody order that any parent could receive for their kids. And that's why, again, we have a picture with the blog article on FamilyLawHeadquarters.com of a ship sinking, because it's really a good illustration of what can happen when a parent fails a drug test in the middle of the custody case. Not helpful, not a good thing, and you can hire the world's best family law attorney to try to help you out with your custody case. But if you're failing drug tests, the truth of the matter is there's not a whole lot that any attorney can do to really fix that, except to help you understand that the drug usage is not a good thing and that it has to stop, and that if you need to get help, then that's definitely something you should do. But you can't really, at the end of the day, assume you're going to end up with a good custody order if you're using drugs. Just not helpful. Again, so that is a topic here today, as a prelude, or as a follow-up, I should state, as a follow-up to the episode today. Go to FamilyLawHeadquarters.com. Look at the article dated December 29, 2014, titled How Doing Drugs Can Sink Your Custody Case. All right, well, thanks for all the listeners for tuning in today with Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic, or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today.
How's your money feeling? It's about to feel happier with a certificate from Happy Money's partner, Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. Elevate and increase your savings with 18-month terms and only a $500 minimum. And the happiest part? MSU FCU certificates yield 4.5% APY annual percentage yield. Now that's a happier side of money. Elevate your savings. Go to happymoney.com/MSUFCU. That's MSUFCU. Funds insured up to $250,000 by NCUA. The APY is accurate as of the 12/1/2023 dividend declaration date. Early withdrawal penalties do apply. Fees may reduce earnings on the account. Any monthly withdrawals or transfers reduce earnings.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.